Welcome back, everybody, and we just got episode 3 of Chucky, the TV series, titled I Like to Be Hugged. Now, for those of you just joining me, I've already reviewed the first 2 episodes with my initial reaction right after watching the episode, and every single Wednesday I follow it up with a live stream, and I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow. So if you are a fan of this show, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my coverage of the Chucky TV series. Now, it's kind of a recap. I really enjoyed the premiere episode, had a couple of small issues, but really dug it as an intro to this television series world of Chucky, and gave me a lot of hope that it is going to be a very good move from the movie screen to the TV screen. And episode 2 I thought was even better. I pretty much loved that episode from front to back. Now, episode 3, to kind of get my thoughts out right out of the gate, I was a little mixed on this one. This one felt a little bit like a filler episode, to be completely honest with you. Now, this one pretty much focused on Jake both deciding and then kind of working himself up to killing Lexy after what she did in episode 2, and Chucky kind of grooming him and nudging him along the way, and then eventually him basically just giving the Chucky doll to Lexy's sister so that Chucky can do all the dirty work for him. So it was a whole episode on killing Lexy. Now, while on the one hand, I absolutely despise this character, like everybody that watched this show now. After what she did in episode 2, even though she's a middle schooler, pretty much everybody in unison across the world was like, kill that bitch now. And I think they did a great job at setting her up to be that type of character. Now, with this entire episode pretty much focusing on how miserable and insufferable of a person that she is, I felt like it's going a little bit too hard on it, because we've already established that we hate her, we've already established that she is a disgusting person, and this episode, every single time she's around, she just hammers it home even more, and is just a complete bitch, and goes over to apologize to Jake just so that she can get something in return, and then acts like disgusted when he doesn't give her anything, and it's to the point where it's almost unrealistic now how ridiculous this character is. Like, somebody being as fucked up in the head and as mean-spirited enough to do the costume that she did, I believe there's kids out there that are that way. Somebody that is just this oblivious to the world, it was a step too far for me.
Anyway, now that I've done this, act of charity, I'm sure you want to know what you can do for me.
Wasn't really thinking that, but, hey, Lexy, what can I do for you?
I did like the back and forth between Chucky and Jake, as Chucky was kind of pushing him to do it and kind of digging him a little bit whenever he didn't have the balls to go through with it, and finally just being like, all right, fine, if you want me to do it, I'll do it for you. It's a very fun interaction between those characters, so I continue to enjoy the bond between Jake and Chucky. And I did like how they had Jake go to the graveyard while Chucky was going to be doing his dirty work, and him kind of talking to the gravestones of his parents while coming to the realization of what he has done. And when he hears the sirens, which is inevitably coming for the fire, he thinks that it's sirens because now Lexy's probably in about 100 pieces in her living room. And I thought that was a nice way to kind of have him go through a bit of a realization and regret for what he has done without actually having to be there or see any of the carnage go down. I am a little bit intrigued of what's going on with this Devin character, the podcaster. I don't know if this was meant to set something up, but I found it strange that he was recording all of his conversations with Jake. And I don't know if there's something nefarious going on there where he's like trying to get confessions of this guy, or he's going to end up doing something to embarrass him right along with Lexy towards the end. It was just a little bit of a nugget of story to where it could have been innocent and it could have been very, very screwed up, but we'll find out in a couple episodes. But I thought that that was subtle enough that I started to pay attention to it. Now I'm a little more intrigued with what's going on with this guy. As far as basically the back half of the episode where Chucky is inside of Lexy's house, and there's a couple different scenes where he's trying to do something, where he's trying to stab her, trying to come up behind her, and it gets foiled. I felt like the effects on the doll were a little rough this episode. Obviously, there's TV budget, so there's probably not the ability to do the things that they did, like with Bride of Chucky, for example. I'm not sure. I don't know what the budget is, but for something that I have not had any issues with so far in the show, there was a couple of shots, namely the one where he's walking behind her, that just looked very odd, where his legs were barely moving. It just didn't quite nail that effect for me. And then towards the end of the episode, whenever he accidentally stabbed side guy, whatever his name is, and he falls down, and it was showing him stab the kid, like the knife never looked like it was even making contact with his body, and they held the camera on it. I don't know why, if they didn't have the budget to make it look like it was protruding the kid, why they wouldn't have shot it from a different angle, I'm not really sure. But for something, like I said, that I thought they've done a damn good job with. This episode kind of stood out as looking a little iffy with the doll effects. I'm also a little unsure with how everything wrapped up with Chucky and Lexy. I loved the entire scene where he comes up and does the strangulation thing because she's running around and he's doing the little feet kicking thing like he did in the first couple of movies, which I loved. I haven't seen that in a long time. Him laughing and the whole scene where he's trying to take her down, I enjoyed all of that. Accidentally creating a fire, very cool visual when he's sitting there laughing and everything's just burning behind him. Very cool, but I don't quite understand why he would stand there and laugh maniacally instead of just killing her. Like, he came in there to do it. Obviously strangling her didn't work. He's got the knife in his hand, and instead of just going and getting the deed done, which is the whole reason we've spent this whole episode behind Chucky at Lexy's house, he just stands there and laughs. And you know, if you watched the preview for the next episode, which I might stop watching, obviously Lexy lives, and Chucky didn't finish the job, so didn't make sense to me why he would stop. And finally, let's talk a little bit about that flashback segment. Now, we've been getting little snippets of it every single episode of Charles Lee Ray as a kid, where it's kind of painting him to have a beaver cleaver life where everything's great, good parents, good upbringing, everything's happy-go-lucky. And he opens up this episode talking to Jake about his first kill, and it immediately goes to a flashback where he's at his birthday party. And they kind of hint for a second that maybe this little girl might end up being his first victim, but then we never see her again. And so they try to set up this whole surprise in the last 10-15 minutes of the episode where they keep splicing in these flashback segments with Chucky's attack on this party at the end of the episode. And you get the killer that they've been talking about in the flashback that's plaguing Hackensack bursting into his house and killing his father. And then they come back to it and he's hiding into a closet with his mother where he grabs a little pocket knife and gets in there with her. And then they go back one more time and show him open the knife and standing there with his mom waiting for somebody to come, the killer. And by the time they actually showed him grab that, get into the closet, and open it up, I thought it was fairly obvious where they were going with it. To be honest with you, my wife, who is not somebody that's overly familiar with this franchise and doesn't watch near the amount of horror that I do, as soon as he walked into the closet, she was like, I bet the kid's gonna kill her. It's gonna be an interesting little twist there, right? And I was like, yeah, you're probably right, actually. And then she was. Now, on one hand, I am very glad that they're not trying to do some kind of a sympathetic backstory for Charles Lee Ray. I'm glad there's not going to be some kind of a revelation that's like, oh man, so this is why he became a killer. I understand now. I'm glad they're not going that route. I'm glad they took the route of, no, this dude was just fucked up from the beginning, because that's how this character should be. He is so evil, and has been so evil this entire franchise, that no other answer would have made any sense other than the one that they chose. So I'm glad that they did not go that route. I'm still leery about this whole backstory thing, because I'm somebody that doesn't need it. I don't need to know any answers. I didn't even need to have that confirmed, that he was just always fucked up. I prefer the mystery. Now, obviously, I'm not everybody. There's probably some people that would prefer to see a prequel or some kind of a backstory and get every single question that they've ever had since 1988 answered. I'm just not one of them. So, despite the fact that thus far, they're not doing anything with these backstory flashbacks that is worrying me or is aggravating me with something that they're bringing up that I didn't want to have answered, I still could do without it. I still don't think that it's necessarily a big part of the show for me thus far. Now, eventually, by the end of the season, maybe the storyline that they're piecing together with this flashback is going to tie directly into the show, and it'll all come full circle by episode 8, and I will withhold my full judgment until then. But thus far, not loving the flashbacks, and walking into the show, I knew that was going to be an issue for me. So overall, guys, I don't know. This episode was fine. Like I said, it wasn't a huge drop in quality or anything like that, but from how much I've enjoyed the past 2 episodes, this is the first episode that kind of felt like I was meandering a little bit in the story. Spending an entire episode on Lexy to not finish the deed, and then now I'm a little worried they're going to try to make her this sympathetic character that's going to have a huge turnaround. And I don't know how that's going to work with how much they dove into how much of a miserable person she is. If they had stopped it at the dance, I think they would have a good shot of doing that. With this episode, her just being this psychologically whacked, I don't know if you're going to get me around to that storyline. But we'll see. Like I said, withhold full judgment until I see how the story goes to fruition. But as of right now, episode 3, it was okay. So what did you guys think of episode 3, I Like to Be Hugged? Are you still a fan of this show? Is it losing you thus far? Was this your favorite episode of the season? And what do you think is going to be going on with these flashbacks? That's the main thing. Do you guys enjoy what's going on with these flashbacks? Do you think it's just going to be solidifying how psychotic Charles Lee Ray is and always was? Or do you think that there's going to be some overarching revelation by the end of this series? Let me know your predictions down below, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video. Like I said, hit the subscribe button if you're a fan of Chucky, because I've got lots of Chucky content already on this channel, and we're going to have a lot more for the rest of this season. So please do not miss out on any of that. Thank you guys for watching as always, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.